Welcome to episode 6. It is time to read the beats. So in this episode, we have Sarah. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being a part of this. Sarah was a NetGalley November host if you participated in NetGalley November, so go and show her some love. I'm so excited to check these songs out. I don't really know what to expect from Sarah and her music taste. I know book-wise, she quite likes romance. Music taste I'm not entirely sure of, so I would be very, very interested to see. We saw last week that Brooklyn took me totally by surprise from what I was expecting. So yeah, I don't really have any expectations, but I'm very excited. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's get started. I'm just going to turn the volume up a little bit so you guys can actually hear. Let's get started. Oh, I'm so excited.
Hello, Jess. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this series. I've watched every episode and loved them all. I cannot wait to do this collab with you. And I want to start off by saying I do not have a favorite song. Like, I do not have one that is above all else. I just picked 3.
Fair. Totally fair. It is really hard to pick like a favorite song, and I think I need to clarify when I say favorite song, like a song that you really, really like. Because saying like an all-time favorite is pretty hard.
That are ones that I really love, ones I have constantly on repeat. And
Perfect.
When I think of songs that I like to listen to, these are the first 3 that came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I say I play them all the time, I mean, I will literally be sitting and listening to music, and I will listen to the same song over and over and over again. These songs I could have on repeat and still not get tired of them. These songs are that good, in my opinion. So
that sounds very much like a definition of a favorite song to me.
First song I've chosen is Feminine Phenomenon by Chapel Roan, and I chose this song because
let's feminine on feminine oh god, it's one of those words. Feminine phenomenon. Okay. You guys are not going to hear me say that very often in the vlog. I'm going to say that right now. I will try it once or twice, but
I've liked it for several months now, and it's really stayed up there in a song that I continue to play. I heard it first actually on Dancing with the Stars, the season finale, and I fell in love with it, and I've listened to it nonstop ever since. And I just felt like I had to choose it because I feel like when some people I know that are close to me think of the songs I love, they would say this. They would say Feminine Phenomenon is a song that describes me, like the song I love. And the next song I chose for you is I Love You, I'm Sorry by Gracie Abrams. This is a bit of a sad song, but I do love this one so much. It's so beautiful. I chose this one because it's a bit different for me. It's slower paced, but it really, really stuck with me. And again, I know all the words to this song, and I really enjoy it. It's been a favorite that I play over and over again. There's a certain part of the song that I love so much, and it's constantly in my head. I hear it 24/7.
So immediately what I'm thinking, I haven't heard the song or anything like that, but immediately what I am thinking is, again, something that is bittersweet. I love you, I'm sorry. Like, those are two very juxtaposed. We're having some word troubles today. Juxtapositioning some words. I love you, I'm sorry. Like, actually, the book that comes to my mind immediately is one that I read last month, being The Light We Lost. But I'm not going to read that. I'm going to pick something else. I'll obviously listen to the song, see if we can figure something out from there.
But that one I definitely had to mention and
Fair.
had to pick. And the last song I chose is Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day. I chose this song because Green Day is my favorite band, and this is my favorite song from them. So if someone asked me what my favorite song is, this is probably the one I'd say, even though I don't have like a specific top favorite. But I just had to pick this one. I've loved this song for a long time. Green Day has been my favorite band for 2 to 3 years.
Fair.
And this one just means a lot to me. And I just love belting out the lyrics to this one so much. And that's why I chose it. Hopefully you are able to find some good books from these songs. And I'm so excited to see what songs you chose for me.
Okay, so it's been a few days. It's actually been quite a few days. I've had to listen to these songs quite a few times to kind of get the feel of them and really choose a book that I think is going to fit these songs. So the first one was Femininomenon. And that song is very poppy, very like this person doesn't really care. She's had some stuff going on in life and she's like, you know what, we're just going to live our best life now. At the same time, there was something very cheerleaderish about the song, and I think also the album cover kind of lent into that. Some of the colors there, it kind of gave me like YA high school, like something that a cheerleader would kind of sing along to, and like the chorus kind of leans into that. And so I wanted something that was kind of like YA, set in a high school or a college, cheerleader, that kind of thing. And so I found a book. It's called Fat Boy versus the Cheerleaders by Jeff Herbeck. Because the song is very much kind of, to me, like they're trying to prove a point and say a message. And this really spoke to me. I'm fully capable of taking my own dignity, but nobody else is going to take it. So this is about Gabe, and Gabe is in high school, I believe. Kind of like 15, 16, somewhere around there. And he has a soda addiction, a sugar addiction, that kind of stuff. And so he tries to like kick it. And as he's trying to do that, he starts kind of getting really tetchy and really angry and stuff like that. And so, like, there's a whole bunch of things that are adding up. His marching band is not getting refunded. The price of his soda has gone up, and for an addict, that really sucks. And all of the money that was spent to raise money for the marching band has now been given to a new cheerleader squad, and so he's pretty pissed off about that. And so he decides to wage war on the cheerleading squad, and he kind of takes out his wrath in a very interesting way, and that's by destroying the same soda machine that he used to rely on. And so, yeah, he kind of gave me, I mean, the colors themselves, you'll see it on screen, the colors themselves are very, to me, quite reminiscent of the album cover. And while I'm reading it, I'm hoping to kind of find some messages and some things that are going to resonate with the song lyrics and the actual song itself. But I think being YA, you know, having the cheerleaders there as well, that all ties in together. And so that is my first pick for Femininomenon. I've had to practice that. Now, the second song I got was I Love You, I'm Sorry. And now this, just immediately listening to the music, I'm going off vibes. And it sounds to me like music that would be in the soundtrack to Love, Simon. Now, Simon, being a 16-year-old, yes, this is YA again, he's kind of struggling with his sexuality. He's gay, and he kind of secretly falls for somebody. And, you know, stuff happens, but it's very, the sound of it is very reminiscent of the era that this, at least the movie was being made. The other thing it made me think of was Heartstopper. Like, again, it's a very teenage college vibe song. Now, the third song that we got was Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day, and I am so happy about that. I'm so happy. It was so good to hear that song actually after a while. And this one I'm kind of twisting a little bit now, like Boulevard of Broken. The music video is quite dystopian. So I was immediately thinking of like something dystopian, something a little bit dark. And then the lyric, I walk this lonely road, kind of sunk in. It made me think of somebody that is walking away from their life and maybe doesn't have a lot of support. And although the lyric says the only road that I have ever known, the twist is that I'm going to be reading Educated, and she does not know the road that she is about to take. And she essentially walks away from her family, who are kind of like doomsday preppers, preparing for the end of the world. And so Tara actually leaves home. She decides to get herself educated. I think she moves to San Francisco. I could be wrong about that. And then she gets herself an education, but she's alone through all of it. Surely she must make friends. Surely. But yeah, that immediately made me think of those. So these are the three books that we are going with: Fat Boy versus the Cheerleaders, Love, Simon, and Educated. I am very much looking forward to this TBR for Read the Beats. Let me know if you have read any of these books. Yeah, I'm going to get started with Fat Boy versus the Cheerleaders, and I will catch up with you probably about halfway through. It's not very long. It's about 170 pages. So we'll see you soon. Okay, let's have a chat about Fat Boy versus the Cheerleaders. This is a very interesting book. It is quite heartbreaking in the fact that this boy is so dependent on sugar and pop, as they call it. There's quite a few things that really stuck out to me. Police suggested the alleged robbery, so he's robbed this soda machine of like $17, but like for him it's a lot more than just robbing this machine. It says police suggest that the alleged robbery was related to a larger conflict involving assault, vandalism, and defamation of character, and has come to be known, look at that sky, come to be known as the Spunk River War. So this one kid has like declared war on like the universe and this vending machine, and the whole reason for that is because he's so dependent on sugar, and all of a sudden the price hikes up like by double, and so he can't afford that. And then on top of that, the reason the price has changed is because it's now gone to supporting the cheer squad, and not supporting his band camp or his marching band, and things like that. And so he's like, I think he's going through like withdrawal symptoms, and like a lot of his anger that's all of a sudden coming out is because of the withdrawal of the sugar. And like, this is a boy who could go through 4 or 5 bottles a day, Not quite sure how big they are in America, in the vending machines, but like even, I mean, our bottles, I don't have one here, but our bottles are about 330 ml. No, 600 is like the bigger ones that you can buy in the vending machine. And Jesus, one of those a day is almost too much for me, let alone 5 or 6. And he's like teased severely. He says, first things first, the machine made me a junkie, a pop junkie. I'm not the only one in the school either. And then he goes on to say, the truth is I've gained a lot of weight in the past couple of years. Kids call me fat ass, sausages, fudge balls, butter balls, cake balls, lard ass, 8-butt Johnson, all kinds of names. And the one that kind of sticks a lot is Chunk. His nickname is Chunk. His actual name is Gabriel, but his nickname is Chunk. And that is so bad. That just, part of it reminds me of high school. Like, I mean, it probably wasn't that bad for me, but like, it just, the torture of it. And he's trying to take it in a stride, you know, like these cheerleaders are telling him to like shake his ass while he's walking and stuff like that, and so he will, and he'll just laugh off a lot of these comments. And there's only so much you can do that before you break. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's it kind of works with phenomenon, because like the beat of the music is, I mean, it's probably more new adult than it is YA, but it kind of gives me the YA feelings. And so that, like, that kind of works in with that. And I really do think the cover of this works for, like, yeah, I've seen a few different covers, but it does work for some of the covers of that song as well. And I'd be really interested to see more of these cheerleaders and kind of see if they're like horrible or if they're, you know, actually all right and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a really good book so far. Okay, so I'm here reading Fat Boy versus the Cheerleaders for Phenomenon. I'm getting better at that. Okay. There's just some stuff that is just making me smile and making me cheer this boy on and this band on. Like, they are protesting at the high school. They've just gone in with this, like, 40 people just showed up with their instruments and just, like, blasted it's not really the school song, but it's the song that everybody associates with, like, the marching band and stuff like that. And it's just so good. And, like, when I think it's the principal, when he comes in with like the cheerleading coach and stuff like that, the dude's like, Randall, what are you doing here? And Randall's this guy that has, like, he's graduated and apparently he was the music alumni or something. But like him and like his bandmates have joined this protest for Spike River. So yeah, Divas is saying, Randall, what are you doing here? And Randall said, I'm lodging an official complaint, Mr. Divas. And Divas said, this isn't your business. You know it is. I'll be talking at you later, man. Okay, that didn't quite make sense, but then Randall turned to me, why don't you dudes join us up on stage for a song Sunday night? Like, that is so cool. Like, this kid, Chunk, Gabe, whatever you want to call him, he's made such a noise and an impact on, like, the people in the geek community and the band community and the marching band. It is actually really cool, even though he's getting backlash from, like, his family and stuff like that, and like essentially the rest of the school that doesn't really support it, mainly the cheerleaders. Yeah, and it's making me think about the song, because the song is very, very loud, it's very proud, it's very look at me, and that's exactly what Gabe is doing. Like, he's got a cause, and it's loud and it's proud, and he wants everybody to see it. And yeah, I'm highlighting so many things in this book, and it's really good. I will say it's still not giving a 5-star. It's still not giving a 5-star, but at this rate, it's probably going to get a 4. So yeah, I will check back in with you when I've finished. Let's have a chat about Love, Simon. This is kind of cute. It's very YA, like very YA. I'm not gonna lie. Which, to be fair, kind of reminds me a lot of the song. The song itself, like I did say, was like quite YA. Reminded me of songs that would be on the soundtrack to a lot of books that have been made into movies that were YA. But the book itself, we follow Simon, and Simon is secretly gay. And he is kind of having these conversations with a guy called Blue. Now, they are both using pseudonyms, not using their real names. And then one day, Simon starts getting blackmailed because a classmate of his really likes a friend of Simon's, and he wants Simon to essentially hook them up or like put in a good word. And so this classmate like takes pictures of this secret conversation. He managed to find them, and he's like, I've got these pictures, all you have to do is put in a good word, get us to cup. And I won't post them all over Tumblr and stuff like that, which I think is a really dick move, but it's also kind of realistic in terms of, I know a lot of teenage brats would actually do that. This is actually, like, for being very YA, it's actually written very well. There's a lot of really good bonding and really good character development, and just like spending time with friends and developing those relationships. Simon has a theory about who he thinks Blue is, and I have a theory about who I think Blue is, and they are both two different people. So I think Simon is trying to get to know the wrong person, which is kind of really sad because he has a crush on this guy. And he's like, I'm sure he's Blue, I'm sure. And he's testing him out with little scenarios and like little words and phrases that have been said in these emails. And there's no reaction. And so he doesn't quite know what to make of that. And it's quite cute. It's quite funny to see. I think Blue is someone totally different to what Simon thinks. So it'd be good to finally find out who Blue is. And I'm hoping they get together. I'm currently on chapter 10. Should take me a few hours to finish. So I've only got 2.5 hours in the audiobook until I've finished. And this is chapter 10, 28%. So yeah, I'll be able to update you actually very shortly on my final thoughts on everything. Okay, so Educated. I am about 60 pages into it, and it is slow at the moment, and I really hope that it picks up pace soon. It's talking a lot more about her childhood than what I thought it would, with her actually growing up, but in a way that's probably a good thing. The family dynamic is really interesting. I really like the mother. She's like a herbalist. And there was a thing in there where she was like making calendula tinctures and like she ended up being she didn't want to be a midwife, but she ended up being a midwife and like using all the herbal medicine and stuff like that, and that was really cool to me. The father's a dick, an absolute dick, and he's the one that's kind of controlling them. So like they are a family of Mormons, which is fine. I can't really speak a whole lot about that just because I'm not a Mormon. I don't know a lot about what they believe in and stuff like that and how they practice. So I can't really say much about the Mormon side of it. But what I can say is after a while, the dads kind of started getting a bit more paranoid and started talking about the Illuminati and like things like that. And he took them more and more off grid and got to the point where he refused to send his kids to school because he thinks that they're teaching the kids to be in the Illuminati or something like that. So he's like really, really paranoid. And unfortunately at the moment, like the mom has like really bad migraines and stuff like that. And like they're actually kind of fast losing their kids. So Tara has, I think, 3 brothers. And where I'm at now, they've all left to go to college or to find a job and stuff like that. At the moment, she hasn't left because she's still at this point. She's only like maybe 11 or 12, maybe not even that. So yeah, and she doesn't run away to school until she's like 16. So we've got a while to go. I'm assuming it's in 3 parts, so I'm assuming we don't really see her start school and stuff like that until part 2. And that's actually quite a ways away, and I really hope that's not it. I'm hoping that we start seeing her going to school before part 2, because that would be really slow. But yeah, I mean, at the moment I'm enjoying it. I just wish it would pick up pace a bit. I'm going to try and finish this today. I may or may not. We'll see how we go. But I will check in with you at about halfway, maybe at the start of part 2. So I have literally just got to part 2 of Educated. And in terms of the song Boulevard of Broken Dreams, the music video for Boulevard is quite like dystopian in a way, and it reminds me of like a doomsday prepper thing, like what you see in movies and stuff like that, and it's very derelict and things. So there's that. The other thing is like pulling attention to the lyrics, and some of the lyrics are "I walk a lonely road, the only one I have ever known," and that is quite apt in the fact that her family and the way she's been brought up has been like essentially more and more as doomed to stay preppers. You know, like in part 1 they're talking about Y2K. Mum is a herbalist. They don't believe in going to a hospital at all unless it's absolutely 100% necessary, which it is a couple of times for part of their family, but they're not happy about it. So there's that, and then part of it also is saying like walking alone. Her father had her working with him in a junkyard, like a very, very dangerous place, from about 10 years old, and so she did that. 15 she started applying to go to college, and she had to take a test and stuff like that. And that's kind of when he really started disowning her, and trying to say, like, God is saying that, you should not be going out to get an education and that kind of stuff. And I mean, it pisses me off a little bit, because this is a guy that is essentially holding his kids back. And as much as I don't want to shit on anyone's beliefs, as kids, it is really important to have an education and stuff like that, as much as I would have told you 20 years ago that that was a lie. But like this one person is really holding his family back. And even the mother is saying, like, no, Tara, you go to college, because she initially changed her mind after her dad said, I've talked to God and God has said this. So she initially changed her mind and said that to her mother, and her mother was like, no, you go to college, you do it, you get out of here. And so from there, that's kind of when she started getting disowned, at least from her father's perspective. And so I'm imagining for a while, it is going to be a very lonely road for her, which is really sad. I mean, I'm guessing that things are going to turn out all right in the end. But yeah, I think for a while it's going to be quite a culture shock, and I think she's going to be quite lonely. So actually this works in perfectly for Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Very excited to get to part 2 and part 3. I think this is where it's really going to start picking up. So yeah, definitely a good book so far, but I'm really, really, really interested to see what it's like when she's actually in college. So I mean, I'm pretty much halfway through now. I think I'm just going to update you at the end, and give you my final thoughts. So I will see you then. Okay, so last night I finished Educated by Tara Westover. And I just wanted to quickly come on and give you my thoughts. I am giving it a 4.5 star. That's kind of because, like, for a while there it was really slow and it was very much about her family. And I realized, like, to kind of get to know who she was, like, that was really important. But to me, there wasn't so much about the education that I was expecting, like an actual education being in school, and her kind of going off to school. That was mainly part 2 where she did that, and I loved that. That was like 6 stars. That was incredible. She moved away and she got challenged by her tutors and stuff like that, but she had like a real knack for writing and stuff like that, and doing essays and all of that kind of stuff. So she ended up becoming a doctor at 27, which was really, really quick. And she had a professor that was just kind of like challenging her to do like scholarships and all of that kind of stuff. And she ended up getting essentially, for the most part of it, a free ride through Cambridge and then onto Harvard as well. So that was really interesting. The main part of the story, though, was about her family and how quite radical. I would give it radical. They were through part 3. Like, she was talking about her studies and stuff like that, and her parent, even her mother, started disowning her. But I think that was more through the influence of her father. So yeah, I mean, I still kind of stand my ground that her father is a real dick, because he was like constantly like, you're possessed, you need an exorcism, you know, have this blessing and you'll be right and you can come back to the family. And then he started manipulating the rest of the family, like all the brothers and the sisters and the aunties and the uncles and the grandparents and all of that kind of stuff. So because of him, he made her out to be the black sheep. And I haven't talked about this yet, but one of her brothers, Sean, I said in the first update that her dad was a dick, and he is, at least portrayed in the story. Um, but the brother, Sean, he got some issues. And if you guys have any triggers for SA and stuff like that, do your research. Make sure you're in a good headspace, or this probably, it's not even SA. It's more DV, I would say. Um, yeah, definitely do your homework for the triggers around that, and especially around her brother, because yeah, some of that was quite hard to read. How violent he was, and then like he would be such a normal, nice guy, and then the flick of a switch, he would be threatening her life and stuff like that. And of course, it would all be in a place where she couldn't, have witnesses or anything like that. And even when she did have witnesses, even when like he was threatening her like in front of their parents, they were like, "Oh no, he didn't mean any of that. He didn't mean any of that. He's a good boy," and stuff like that. And like he's also mentally challenged and stuff. And Tara's over there going, "Nah, nah, this isn't right. This isn't acceptable." And it took her quite a long time to open up to that. Um, and yeah, so there was a lot about that. Not so much the schooling, um, but bringing it back to Boulevard of Broken Dreams. She, I mean, it was very much a lonely road for her, and I've said that lyric before, but the lyric is very true for this book. It was a very lonely road for Tara, and even more so the later she got into her education. Um, we didn't really see very much of friends or anything like that she made through university. Um, so yeah, it was very lonely, and but she did keep coming back to her family. She kept coming back to the place, like the only place that she has ever known. Um, and she kept coming back, and it took her a while to finally realize how toxic and how much she needed to escape from that. And I think she finally did. As I write the final words of the story, I have not seen my parents in years since my grandmother's funerals. I'm close to Tyler, Richard, and Tony, which are some of her brothers, which is nice. And from them, as well as from other family, I hear of the ongoing drama on the mountain, um, the injuries, violence, and shifting loyalty. I don't know if the separation is permanent, if one day I will find my way back, but it has brought me peace. So yeah, she had to go through a long journey of self discovery, of going to school and getting an education and things like that to kind of be able to free herself from a very toxic and very harming family dynamic. So yes, this gets a 4.5. It was definitely a great story. Um, I think it definitely needed, for me, like even the cover kind of speaks more about the schooling, but it wasn't clearly. What did she actually say about education? You could call this selfhood many things: transformation, metamorphosis, falsity, betrayal. I call it an education. So she's basically saying everything that she's been through in her life has been part of her education, which is true. Um, but I would like to have seen more of the school setting, and more of kind of her tutors challenging her, and more of her coming to realization. Guess who forgot to film a wrap up for the other two books? So you've heard my opinion on Educated. Now let's go back and talk about Fat Boy versus the Cheerleaders. Now you saw me kind of talking about that, and the messages that it was portraying in my updates. But talking more about that, I really enjoyed this book. When I first started reading it, I thought, oh, here we go. It's not going to be that great. It's going to be very YA, very immature, and that kind of thing. And yes, in a way, it is. But once you really start reading it, you really see those very strong kind of themes and messages coming through. You've got themes of resilience, of friendship, of determination and bravery. But then you've also got themes of, and I am going to say addiction because that's really what Gabe was. He was addicted to the sugar and he was addicted to the soda. It turned out like to be much more than that in the end, and that addiction part of it just kind of petered away. But you saw like how much influence his family even had over that addiction and stuff like that. And the book itself ended up being so much more complicated than what I had originally given it credit for. And it worked in well for feminine nomenon because A, the cover is very loud and proud, and B, the song is very loud and proud and like goes here I am and things like that. And that's kind of how Gabe becomes, is very here I am, here's what I want, and it's going to happen whether you like it or not. So it actually worked in really well for a book that I originally got it because of the cheerleader side of it, because it sounded very much like a cheerleader song. It turned out to be a lot more than that, and I really appreciated it. I ended up giving this book a 4-star. Like I said, it was very YA. It is not the best written work that I have ever read. I think it needed a little bit more. It could have used a little bit more work and kind of refining and pizzazz, but it was a really good book, and it is one of the few books that I would actually recommend to be in schools. If you want to, take a punt on it and give it a read for yourself. Kind of behind the surface level, there are those deeper layers. So I'd be really interested to hear what you guys have to say by reading it. Now, the final book that I read for Read the Beats this time around was Love, Simon, and that was for I Love You, I'm Sorry. And once again, I kind of said like how YA this book was and almost how YA the song was. It sounded like a song that would be the movie soundtrack to something like Love, Simon, like just that kind of era, and that kind of like the sound works for a high school type movie. If you know, you know. Love, Simon, again, a much deeper book than what I gave it credit for. It is very YA, incredibly YA. You've got these teenagers, this group of teenagers, and you've got Simon, who is struggling with being gay and is also talking to somebody online called Blue. We don't get to see who Blue is until right at the very end. And I did say I have a theory. I had a theory about who Blue was, and Simon also had a theory about who Blue was. Neither of us got it right. And so that was a very pleasant surprise. This gets a 4-star as well. I usually have a problem with like endings and stuff like that for romances and like YA romances and teens and stuff like that. This was written really, really well. This was written very well. It ended in a way that was very natural and very realistic for what would have been going on for a couple of kids in high school. And Becky didn't kind of overplay what was happening, and she didn't drag it out, which I really appreciated. It ended really nicely, and like I said, I've had problems in the past with endings. But very good book. Perfect song choice for this. Like I could hear the song in my head while I was reading this, and this was really quick, by the way, like really quick. to read. It took me more than a day, but that's because I started reading it at night. I could have done this in one sitting easily. It was very easy to read, and very easy to comprehend. But again, there's a deeper layer there of like questioning of identity and kind of what that means for Simon, and also kind of what that means for Blue as well, in terms of Simon being blackmailed. And then there's also like the question of friendship, like will his friends accept him? Will this blackmailer actually let these photos of these emails come loose, and what would happen if it did? So again, like Fat Boy versus the Cheerleaders, very YA on the surface, but when you actually stop to think about the book, it's a lot more complicated than what it appeared to be, and I really appreciated that. So yeah, another 4-star. So we actually had a great time this month, and I'm so excited. We had a 2 4-stars, and we had a 4.5. Very good songs and very good books that went with those songs. As always, have you read any of these books? Would you have chosen any different books for these songs? I'd love to know. And yeah, if you've made it this far, don't forget to give me a like, give me a subscribe for more Read the Beats and other content. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.